The village chief refuses to tell Stryker where the meteorites came from, as they believe them to be sacred, so Stryker orders his Team X to kill the chief and ultimately the whole village, which they start doing. All except apparently for James, who has become disgusted with the murders committed by his teammates, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because he was in the army for no particular reason for 100 years, other than the fact that maybe he had a bloodlust. And we see Sabretooth, or Victor as he's still known, very much enjoying all of this killing, which makes sense from his character. But anyway, James chooses to abandon the group as he's become disgusted by all the murdering, which again doesn't make any sense to me. We now cut to 6 years later, where James is now going by his last name Logan and is a lumberjack living with his girlfriend Kayla. Meanwhile, Victor hunts down and murders Bolt, the man who could manipulate electricity, and mentions during this scene that Wade Wilson is already dead. Stryker then locates Logan and claims that someone is out to kill members of the now disbanded team. Logan doesn't particularly care, believes he can take care of himself, and basically tells him to F off. But shortly after, his girlfriend Kayla is murdered by Victor, which is kind of nice because some of the scenes between Kayla and Logan were really getting on my nerves. There was this scene where she tells him this, I believe, a Greek tale about a moon and a trickster and a fox and a Wolverine or something. It just didn't work. I thought it was really corny, and I just kind of wanted to get on with it because this movie wasn't going to spend enough time on these scenes to make them good. They just stuck them in there. You either have to take it out or spend adequate time on these kind of scenes, and it doesn't. Anyway, Victor is shown killing Kayla, which causes Wolverine to get all mad, naturally. Wolverine finds Logan at a bar, and they fight, but Logan is easily defeated. I guess the point here is Wolverine is out of shape from working as a lumberjack for 6 years, whereas Victor has been going around using his powers and killing a bunch of people. So Wolverine is defeated, and the bone claws on one of his hands are broken by Victor. Now we have a scene in a hospital where Stryker once again asks Logan for help. Now there's one thing in this scene that really bothers me. Early in the scene, Wolverine is choking Stryker, demanding to know why Stryker wouldn't tell him that it was Victor who was going around killing old members of Team X. And Stryker says, "I didn't know." And then Wolverine lets him go. Okay. And then Stryker drops this on us. He says, Victor went AWOL and said he was coming for all of us. So what is it? Did he know or did he not know? If he didn't know, how would he know that Victor went AWOL and said he is coming for all of us? Unless he just happened to say this after he went to go see Wolverine the first time, which makes no sense because he had already killed Bolt Bradley. So I don't know which one it is. It took like 5 seconds for this guy to contradict himself, which is kind of a bad sign. And I don't know why Wolverine didn't pick up on this. I don't think he's that brain dead quite yet. But, I don't know. So Logan undergoes the Weapon X procedure, where adamantium, a virtually indestructible metal retrieved from the meteorite found by Team X from the Diamond Complex, is bonded to Logan's skeleton. And this scene is depicted to be quite painful. We have an array of 8 to 10 needles sticking into his body, drilling away and pumping this molten hot metal into his body. But there are 2 things wrong with this scene where he's getting the adamantium grafted. First of all, how is it that an array of 10 needles is going to inject adamantium in him, and this molten adamantium is automatically going to seek out his bones and bond around them? No. It almost works like a kitchen appliance in this movie. You have this device, you put a guy in it, you push a button, this array comes down. It's almost like something that would get sold in an infomercial because of how easy it is to use. There's no way an array of 10 needles injecting adamantium into somebody will make for the adamantium to seek out all the bones in his skeleton and bond to it. I was expecting something along the lines of cutting every part of his body open, putting adamantium physically onto his bones and grafting it on that way. The way they showed it in this movie, it took about 40-50 seconds, and it just made it look like something you could buy in an infomercial. I didn't like it. I know they can't do too much in this movie because it is rated PG-13, and they were specifically trying to avoid the R rating, but it was way too easy, and it did not take nearly long enough. The procedure is depicted as taking less than a minute. I would have expected this sort of thing to take many weeks, maybe even months of pain and hard work. After the procedure is over and Wolverine ends up living through it, there's some talk between the superiors that alludes to what happens later in this film, and Stryker orders Wolverine's memory to be erased. Wolverine overhears this from inside the tank, decides to escape, and runs off. Now, Stryker orders Agent Zero to hunt him and take his head off, which I'll get to in just 1 second. So Wolverine runs away completely naked and ends up hiding in the barn of an elderly couple who, after a couple of seconds of conversation, decide to take him in, which, I guess I'll buy it. But if a naked guy ran into my barn, I would not invite him into my house and give him dinner and give him a place to sleep. That's just me, though. I guess these two guys, they lived a good life, and it's okay to take chances when you get up to that age. I'm just saying. Anyway, there are a couple minutes of exposition here where Wolverine accidentally uses his newfound adamantium claws to cut up their sink, which is supposed to be kind of funny, but they don't spend enough time on these scenes, so I can't bring myself to care about the elderly couple, Travis and Heather. So they eat dinner together, they give him his clothes, they talk about their lost son, or away son, I'm not totally sure, and it doesn't really matter because these characters do not matter that much. Now, I have a lot of problems with this next scene. They're in the barn, looking at his motorcycle, the old man's old motorcycle, talking about some stuff and trying to make things all heartwarming, when all of a sudden the elderly couple are gunned down. We see in the distance that it was Agent Zero's doing. Now, in the next couple of seconds, Zero orders a helicopter to fire off rockets at the barn to blow it up and hopefully kill Wolverine. So, why did he shoot the old couple? He shot the old couple. Wolverine was able to determine from this that there was danger, which gave him time to escape on the motorcycle. Now, obviously, the explosion wouldn't have killed him anyway, but from Zero's perspective, he doesn't know that yet, apparently, or he would not have gone on this mission. So, why did he shoot the old couple with a sniper first? Why not just send the helicopter in to fire the rockets immediately so Wolverine doesn't have time to escape? As it turns out, he escapes with the motorcycle in the nick of time. That's problem number one with this scene. And then we have this fight scene between Wolverine and some Hummers vehicles and a helicopter. Wolverine rides around on his motorcycle, dodging bullet fire from the helicopter and dodging bullet fire from the vehicles. He cuts open some of the vehicles, jumps on some of them, basically does everything he can to sabotage them, and this scene is somewhat fun to look at. But here's another problem. Agent Zero is not involved in this fight. There's a gun turret on the helicopter, and there are gun turrets on the vehicles, but Agent Zero isn't really participating here, and he can't. When you think about it, we know normal bullets can't kill this guy. Stryker should know that. Stryker spent $500 million making him invincible. So why is Agent Zero even here? Why did they send him? He has nothing to do in this fight. And they should well know that Agent Zero would be completely useless against a guy like Wolverine. Why is he even there? The only thing he does in this fight is shoot the old couple, which was actually a detriment to the fight. So anyway, Wolverine takes down the helicopter Agent Zero is in, and makes it crash, kills everybody. and then he blows up the helicopter by running his claw across the ground, which sparks a fire in a gasoline spill, which makes the helicopter blow up. It's kind of a weird scene. It was trying to be all badass, and it ended up just being kind of head-scratching. Whatever.